Joran. Need I say more? Okay, well, I will, because chances are, like, I have a lot more than saying than just that. But let me get some of the petty reasons why I don't like Joran. So, reason number one, let me just say, these are just petty reasons. You might not even agree to this, you might not even think about this, but these are my reasons why I think that Joran completely sucks. One being is his stupid hair color. Bro, that is my least favorite shade of green for anything. It's diarrhea green, muddy green shading that looks absolutely horrible, and it's on top of your head. Your mop-like head is this horrible shade of green. Nuh-uh, not for me. I gotta see it, and I think of diarrhea. I can't. I'm sorry. That's just that's a no-go for me. Sorry if you got that thought in your mind, but that's just how I thought it the moment I saw that snuffing mother sparker. Petty reason number two. Again, you might not see this your way, but this just came to me immediately when I saw him. This kid, literally kid, he died term what? 1, term 2, super young kid, lives to the, I don't know, 10 years or I guess 7 terms alongside the main cast, because they're all kind of the same age essentially. Everybody else grows up, he doesn't. He stays this young Morbius, Joran, term 1. Which I guess is fine, because if you die at that age, you stay at that age. But you're Morbius, you can change yourself. Your armor is everybody's armor is kind of ridiculous, but his armor is just what is this? What are you looking like? You're trying to look like a super cool villain or something? Because I know he made the little sculptures, which I was hoping that'd be more involved in the main story, but it was he just making sculptures, which is cool for him, but we just didn't really connect it to the main story. Yeah, he just looks like a weird jester when he becomes a Morbius too. Weird gesture, Tumblr looking body as even a Morbius, and I'm you can change your look, I guess, to be more threatening, and it's just he looks like a jester, literally, like a joke. Not a funny joke, like a haha joke, like a, oh, that kind of wet fart landed kind of joke. So, yeah, super petty, I know. And probably one of the pettiest reasons why I would say I don't like Joran again. You might not think this. This is just me, personally speaking. But this sparking mate represented the letter J. Now, for those who played the game, bit of a spoiler for those who haven't gone this far, but there are upwards of 25 letters, because they're representing the alphabet. 25 letters of Morbius. And this sparking mate gets to be Morbius J. Now, you see the little channel name? Just July? Yeah. J. He took J. That means I would have to associate the Morbius J, just July, my name, to Joran. This dude doesn't even sound like a J. You say Morbius J, and you think of Jalissa, Julia, Jeremy, J, Ja. But he went and got Joran. Now, I'm not Swedish. I'm not Norwegian. We don't get much words, English-speaking words, in our day-to-day language that has the emphasis of yo for the J word. So now I gotta think of Joran representing the letter J. Now, as a J, I'm looking at Joran like, you're representing me, and I don't want that, especially if you're gonna be this much of a piece of crap. So you can take that J to a different part of the world. You can go to somewhere else in Ionios and be Morbius somewhere else. Do not come to my story, especially my main story. and do not represent the letter J. Now that I got some of those petty reasons out of the way, like, I can continue, but I need to move on because, like, I need to give legitimate reasons why this character is probably the worst villain, which is probably the best villain in Xenoblade Chronicles 3. First being, he's there from the very beginning to the very end. So like I said, if you haven't watched or played to completion Xenoblade Chronicles 3, then what are you doing? And make sure to press that like button before you leave. And let's be honest, he is like he would have had such a great like arc if we cared, because he's like the first Morbius you see in the game. Like, essentially, he's the first boss that you fight, and he comes up to be the last boss for chapter 6. So from beginning chapter 1, when you find out about the Ouroboros, you fight Morbius DJ. Now, you don't know that at the time, but you find out, like, okay, this is the same Morbius that you'll be fighting throughout the story, only to find out that Morbius is two Morbius, E and J. And then half of that is your childhood friend, Joran. Now, Joran is essentially this weak character. He claims he's the worm. He claims that he wants to live in the world. Like, he's part of this like system of bugs, that he's like the weakest of the link and everybody else moves on. Which, you know, he could be, right? Like, I'm not going to argue that he sucks and he's weak. Like, everybody made fun of him pretty early on. But his core group of friends, you know, treated him essentially like an equal. And Joran just never really saw that. So from beginning to end, he's kind of crucial. Now, throughout of that, he doesn't really have a big arc, or he doesn't have anything major. Like, I don't want to start comparing 3 to other Xenoblades, but similar to 1, where you find Metalface, you fight Metalface, he kills Fiona. You go and realize this is the main villain. Morbius DJ, early on, you're thinking, okay, this is going to be the villain. You know, he looks like a villain because he's got spiky, glowing colors and like spiky teeth, and he's talking super confidently. Like, he represents our version, Xenoblade Chronicle 3's version of Metalface. And I mean, I don't want to start comparing, but Metalface already has a big presence. Morbius is a big presence. Morbius kills Van Damme. Black Metalface kills Fiona. Now, both those characters end up being part of the reason why the main cast moves on throughout the world, and they keep, you know, butting heads somewhere down the line, but they're always constantly reminded that this villain is here for a reason, and you're trying to fight him. Now, Joran is a big part of that, but he's actually personally connected with the main cast, with everybody, similar to kind of Mumkar and Dunban. But Joran is more associated with Lance in his story of having to grow up and becoming a stronger person, because that's essentially how Lance becomes a big, strong person, like emotionally, because he couldn't fathom knowing that Joran had to sacrifice himself, even though everybody knew that he's kind of like the glue. That's the thing that drew me wild. He thought he was the weakest link. Essentially, he was the glue that held the team together. He never saw it, I guess. But like, for us as a viewer, we kind of see that, like, you're not this weak person. Like, you're actually essential to like making sure that everybody is able to like grow up to be stronger people for you just being there. Now, beginning to end, Joran doesn't really have a big character arc. He sacrifices, spoilers, I guess. He sacrifices himself at the very end, which I guess is, you know, honorable. But at that point, you're going like, okay, like, just move on. Bye. Time to move on. I don't have time for any more Joran crap. I need to go see Nia. And like, listen, Mother Snuffer, if you're gonna be taking on Nia when I'm like super excited, we all bought this game to watch Nia in the future, and you stop her in our tracks to like focus on you, now you got my petty attention. Now I want to get rid of you, which is, I guess, a good villain, right? I just want to get rid of you. I want to get get you out of my mind. So now we had to think about what's next, right? So Joran essentially becomes a character that is motivation to the main cast to get rid of, but also a character that has a small arc of their own based on what the character said. So a lot of the time, the main cast is reminding Joran, like, you're not this person that we grew up. And we're going like, yeah, I would think so, because based on what we've seen, it seems like you're kind of like, you know, a decent person, or at least wanting to be a decent person. Now Zed, like, you know, probably manipulated him by showing his past lives and how much he's died, being a loser, a worm, or whatever. But he just still becomes a kind of like a jerk, and just really like takes advantage of like the previous friendship. And here's like another thing again. Ionios is a different word. Like, I understand that. They might not have like simple terms down like we have in our society, like love, companionship, friendship. They might not know that. They might not even understand that. So for them to go and say we were close, they might not exactly know what that means. For us, we'd be like, oh yeah, they're like friends. You know, they're all just a group of friends. For them, they would just be like, oh, this is our squad. Now, that might be reasonable enough to be like thinking, okay, like they're all individuals and they're all just having to work together. So they don't understand what like companionship is. But they have enough reason to be together to get better. And knowing that Joran sacrifices himself, like, they might not even know what that kind of sacrifice means. Like, obviously he did that to save Lance very early on. I'm moving back and forth, but very early on he saved Lance because he had this feeling, I guess, to like, you know, be this bigger person essentially, to like save Lance because he saw the falling wreckage and he wanted to like sacrifice himself for Lance's well-being. And he probably did it just like for something inside him made him do that, right? And for us, we see that as a character arc that tells us that, you know, they cared for another person and they want to see them grow. They want to see them live. So when Joran comes back, he just wants to murder everybody. And you're going like, okay, well, that character arc kind of like went out the window essentially, because you're just now wanting to murder people just for fun, and you take people's lives like it's nothing. So when he sacrifices himself the second time, or I guess at the very end, when he takes down Morbius D, he does it so that he wants to redeem himself for being such a crappy person. But again, like it's already far into the game. You already fought him like 3 times at this point. Like, it doesn't even, I don't feel like he's sacrificing himself for the Kevin's group. I think he's just sacrificing himself just to kind of be saying like, okay, I'm sorry, but you know, this is like, I'm just tired of fighting you. It just doesn't feel like he's doing a sacrifice for the team. He just feels like he's doing it for like the greater good, whatever good he might think. He takes down Morbius D because he feels like he needs to do it just so we can finally like move on. Like, he did that. He took so long to get there. And then everybody just kept reminding him, like, we, you know, I mean, nobody wanted him to sacrifice himself, but he still does it. Like, he could have just like left Morbius D, and I think we could have just taken down Morbius D on our own, and then he could have joined us. That would have been pretty cool. Like, that was like, this is at this point we're just gonna start speculating, because like, I don't know what they could have done. But Morbius J, like, I legit thought that we would have had these like mini battles that had told like a really compelling story gameplay wise. So like early on, you see how Joran used to make like little sculptures or little like toy models that kind of, to me, they kind of look like the Majora's Mask statues of like Zora, Goron, Deku, and Link. I thought he was going to do something similar to that with the main cast, and you have to fight them or something, or how like you would have to fight a version of Joran that like how he saw himself, and then you'd like would be like, oh, we that's not exactly how we see it, but we can understand why he became like this kind of villain. Like, I thought he would have been much more crucial to the story to understanding why the characters are the way they are. Now again, speculation, but like this is just like things that just ran in my mind. Is like, is a character that's revealed in chapter 3 to be one of the main antagonists to the group. I felt like he would have been much more substantial gameplay wise, because I mean, you just fight him like any other Morbius essentially, and other than like him being revealed to be a childhood friend, he really isn't that much of a impact gameplay wise to what you're used to fighting at that point. And yeah, it was just kind of like, you know, all the Morbiuses kind of suck. Just he's just the worst because he's got like a bit of a narrative to go with. So now you actually have something to sink your teeth into, and you're like, this isn't it, man. Like, if this is what we're trying to like get people to feel sympathetic towards, it is not Joran. Definitely nowhere near close. Like, villains like Mumkar, he's a great villain because you hate him. He's disgusting. He's despicable. You want to kick his butt. You do it, and it's like feels really. And his ending too. I mean, like, it's fantastic. That is a villain you do not you hate to love. Mumkar and Metalface are a prime example of a character you love to hate. Mallows is another great example of a character you love. I mean, you might not hate, but he's definitely a character you do not like, because he's just an embodiment of destruction. So you just gotta stop him, which is good enough. I mean, he has a really good character. I mean, his voice acting is amazing too, but as a character, he's pretty much fantastic. He does what he wants and he destroys things because that's what he feels like he needs to do. And you're like, okay, I get behind that. Joran, on the other hand, he grew up with like knowing that he's like the worm, the bottom of the ecosystem. He found that out, so then he like just wants to take advantage of his new powers and destroy things, and you just go, okay. And he's not friendly with his group of friends that he used to grow up with. So then by the time you find him, he's just this like kind of rude little man-child. Honestly, it reminds me way too much of myself, which is probably another petty reason why I don't like him. But ultimately, Joran is not like a great villain you want to hate. You just want to get rid of him. It's like kind of like X-Pac heat in the early 2000s. Just get him off my screen. But I guess it just comes down to like wrestling. To me, it'll be closer to wrestling terms. You know, just get him off my screen. I don't hate him. I don't want to boo him. I just don't want to see him. Get him out. And he gets essentially chapter 1, chapter 3, and chapter 6 as the main reasons to like understand his backstory. And you're like, no, just get out. Like, just we got another a set of alphabets to get through. Like, we don't need to dedicate this much screen time to you. No. Joran, if you ever watch this video, do not turn me into a puddle of mud. Like, if you do, I don't want to see your face. Like, just do it behind my back. Please, I don't want to look at you, Joran. That's probably, I'm skipping all your stuff so I can get straight into my Nia. You've disrupted that chain of excitement, wanting to see Nia in the hole, and only to find out that, like, you know, there's another character in that vicinity, which, you know, find out at the very end. But at chapter 6, you're coming in way too late, brother, and I don't have time to spend with you. I need to get to my Nia. I need to get to my main story. I need to find out what the real villain is. You're just a stepping stool. Please get out of the way. Joran, I might have been too rough on you, but at the end of the day, these are just opinions. And if you were to watch this, Joran, you'd be the same thing about me. And that's probably the biggest reason I want to like you, Joran. You remind me of myself. You disgusting, horrible, putrid, snuffing mate. Morbius J. I've talked enough. I'm sorry if you've clicked on this and expected something of something. I'm sorry. I can't give you back that time. But if you like that or hated that, let me know in the comment section. This was Morbius J. And I'll see you in the foreverless now.